Damn. It's a lot going on today with the makeup. I really did not plan to do all of this. I kind of just stepped in the booth and went loco. I can't let up on no hoe. Hi everyone, welcome to this video. My name is T. If you're new here, I really do hope everyone's day is going well. Well, I'm back. Your favorite semi-important, mildly cringy commentary YouTuber is back to shake some shit up again because, as you know, I don't want peace. I want problems, always. I also want to cut the shit. I ain't got time to be cute and funny today because even though I can't really help it, because today I would like to dive into the heavy ass, scary ass, ever debatable ass topics of the politics of respectability and desirability, specifically in the context of Black women. We talking featurism. We talking glamorization. We talking bonnets. Still. So obviously I have a lot to say, so I figured I shouldn't just try to knock it out in just one go. So today's video will be part 1 of either 2 or 3 parts. So whatever I don't get to today will get got to eventually. The definition of desirability politics that I want to use can be found in an article called Desirability, Do You Really Love Fat People When You Can't Even See Us Beyond the Political? By trans non-binary abolitionist and author Deshaun Harrison. And shout out to fellow creator Teanna. I've been a fan for a while. It was her video on pretty privilege and desirability politics that actually introduced me to this article, which is about fat phobia, so slightly different from today's topic, but beyond the empowerment sphere. So it's really great for those like myself who are trying to dismantle anti-fat bias both in and externally. So yeah, I should go check that out. But the definition, it reads, I define desirability politics as the methodology through which the sovereignty of those deemed conventionally attractive, beautiful, arousing is determined. My interpretation of that is the study of the different ways pretty privilege or sexy power is determined. So not just what you're gaining or even avoiding for being considered pretty or sexy, but how is it being determined that you're pretty or sexy in the first place? We know that white supremacy greatly influences beauty standards and thus affects how society at large determines how desirable Black women are. To them. I think the next step would be to examine some of the social criterion for desirability. The standout finding when I was writing this video was that desirability has far less to do with what a specific person is doing and much more to do with the tools that exist for them to employ and how easily, drastically, and dramatically social perception of a person can change when they are employed. Perfect example. Ari and JT. For those who don't know, Ari is a popular R&B singer. She rose to fame after her hit single Shea Butter Baby, also known as the First Lady of Dreamville, and very famous for her Instagram live.
I was this close to popping that pussy on the goddamn pole, but then God said, no, bitch, you cannot dance. And no one will pay to see you drop it. No.
Fucking trip. And JT, I ain't playing, is one half of the popular rap duo City Girls. When these women first came out, this is what they looked like. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, stunning. I couldn't ask for more. And at the times that these photos were taken, these women were already popular for their music. They already had made a name for themselves, but not very popular for their looks. At least not for the right reasons. But don't get me wrong, I don't want to make it seem like everyone in the world was calling them ugly and undesirable. There were definitely still people who were calling them beautiful and admiring them because they are beautiful and admirable. But there were also people thriving in the market of humiliating Black women who was tearing their comment sections up, publicly comparing Ari to animals, proudly calling JT the ugly city girl. It just was not uncommon to run across a tweet or tweets that were just saying mean things about these women. But that's changed now though. I mean, the hate hasn't completely gone away, but both Ari and JT have definitely seen a drastic change in their overall online perception. And you would think that with the kind of deeply entrenched and passionate hatred that was being thrown at them, that in order for their comment sections to do a complete 180, that so would their looks, like their physical appearances would have to undergo some major transformations. But no, this is what they look like now. Obviously, the same women, very much still recognizable, but as you can see, with just a few small changes to their appearances, people went from dehumanizing them to praising them. I'd like to theorize this. The thing that was standing in between society, or at least that section of the internet, viewing Ari and JT as animals versus now calling them goddesses and their dream women was not a tone body or a new body, new hair, new makeup, new wardrobe. None of that. Those were tools, again, effective tools, but that wasn't the flip of the switch. The flip of the switch was and continues to be society's standard and default discontent towards Black women in the ordinary. I'm so fucking extra. Like, I very much could have just said regular Black women, but you tell me, which one sounds more interesting? Regular Black women or Black women in the ordinary? Know what I mean? So what is Black women in the ordinary? Well, just as it sounds, a Black woman, a woman who is Black. Not a Black girl magic connoisseur, not a melanated queen, not a Black woman celebrated and elevated through the lens of her tenacity and her accomplishments, her superhuman work ethic. Shout out to Beyonce. None of that extracurricular activity, but just a plain Black woman, which is majority of Black women. White supremacy and misogynoir makes it so society does not reward her. Society does not desire her. Even worse, if she falls into other intersections of oppression, if she's a dark-skinned Black woman, a fat Black woman, a disabled Black woman, a trans Black woman, rendered invisible, typically unrewarded without first being exotified to some capacity. This happens in a number of ways. We've talked about the fetishization of Black women on this channel before, but another one that I've recently come to articulate is glamorization. I know, all these izations, like, fuck, can y'all give us a break? I've always noticed this, but like I said, I didn't quite have the words for it until I came across Ty Talks' video on it called I'm Black, Not Black. I love that video. I love how she did that video, but the title alone encapsulates pretty much all that I'm about to say in this next bit. Ty talks a lot about how the Black women who get a lot of praise on the internet often present themselves in a way that just exudes this mega goddess, sun from within, perfect skin, body, hair, and we love that for them. We love that for them and what it does for their self-confidence and self-image, but we would be remiss not to acknowledge that this puts pressure on them and other Black women to constantly look their absolute best in order to get the same attention and really just overall acknowledgement of existence that women of other races get as a default. Ty also explains that, glamorized or not, a lot of the Black women who are placed on these pedestals often possess characteristics that appease colorist, texturist, and featurist ideals. Now, that featurist part, that's where I want to take it because that's a huge part. And we don't talk about it enough because it's tricky. So here we go. I understand featurism as prejudice against facial features that are recognized as typically Black or Afrocentric. You see, this is what the fuck I be talking about. Featurism is such an unacknowledged topic that I had to come up with in big 2021, I had to come up with my own definition for it. And I'm still not 100% on it because I know it's vague. The internet is just such a breeding ground to gaslight Black women's struggles because let the internet tell it, featurism ain't even a word. There's no official Merriam-Webster definition for it. There's still a little squiggly line under it when you type it out as if it's grammatically incorrect or whatever the fuck. This is why we say listen to Black women and just hear us out when we try to share our personal experiences because academia ain't always backing us up. Sometimes academia will have you thinking we're fucking delusional even though the issues sit right there in front of you. Anyway, featurism. It's real. If you're a consumer or even just a casual observer of pop culture, then you have absolutely seen people and publications use featurism as a tool to shame and disrespect Black women and girls. When people say, Megan Thee Stallion, she's so sexy. Oh, she's so sexy. She's so beautiful. But her nose, it ruins her face. Featurism. When people acted like Beyonce personally betrayed them for giving birth to a daughter with facial features that resembled Jay-Z's more than they did hers. Featurism. And she was just a fucking baby. Now, I could sit here and be mad at the media for being so mean to Black women and girls. I could go on a rant about the publications who continue to push this whole Black people with Black ass features are ugly propaganda. And yes, f*** y'all. But I think it's a much more interesting conversation, a much more interesting segue to talk about how these biases are upheld intraculturally. Following the trend of using musical artists as exemplars, I want to talk about Asian Doll, aka Asian Da Brat. I like her. Hold on. I like every person I'm about to mention, okay? I like her. I really do. I don't really listen to her music that much, but I like her style. I like how she looks. I like how she presents herself, and I also love how she spoke out against colorism, even when it seemed like the whole industry was trying to tell her that this shit didn't exist. So yeah, I like her. But why the fuck is her name Asian Doll? Same thing with Tokyo Jets. Why is her name Tokyo Jets?
When I tell you what I'm about to tell you, you will be told my opinion.
I'll tell you why, or I'll theorize as to why, but you probably not gonna like it. It's likely because they have features, presumably facial features, that are more commonly associated with Asian women. I'm gonna put on a little bit more lip gloss. I think I'm a little bit nervous. Now, of course, this is not to say that Black women can't naturally have these features. I mean, obviously, because these women ain't even Asian. What I'm saying is, I didn't just pull this out of my ass. Even Tokyo Jets herself said that she adopted that nickname because of the way her eyes are set. Now that's wildly fucking problematic, wouldn't you say? I'm just thinking about how upset Black women get when we hear women of other races say things like, oh, I got a Black girl booty. I got Black girl lips. Imagine if there was a non-Black rapper with the stage name Black Fairy or Africana Grande. And the list goes on. Light Skin Keisha, Mulatto, now known as Lotto. But I think nicknames like these are so common, especially amongst Black female rappers, because it's so common within the Black community, for the feature that people fixate on and praise you for to be an ambiguous feature, a feature that's not typically Black, a feature that removes you from being a Black woman in the ordinary. You see how I brought that full set? You see? I'm nice like that. And then rewards you for it. Let me not forget that part. It removes you from being an ordinary Black woman and then rewards you for not being an ordinary Black woman. And then this cycle of this outside fixation and then the reward system thereafter, it goes on for so many years. And these women internalize it so deeply that you make it your stage name. You make it your Instagram handle. You make it your entire identity. You say, this is what I want you to know me for. And in doing so, whether they want to admit it or not, it serves as a symbol of separation from the demographic they actually belong to. And don't think that this kind of stuff only happens in the music industry, okay? The exotification of Black women happens all over. It shows up all the time. Like, do y'all remember the foreign phase? When it was just so cool to be a Black girl who was foreign. And that's another thing I will not allow anyone to gaslight me on, because I was there. I was fighting for my fucking life back then. I remember girls would have usernames like Foreign Kiki, Kiki Foreign. And it always baffled me because it was like, sis, ain't you from Detroit? So you see, that's another symbol of separation from being a regular Black girl, an ordinary Black girl. Even if you are a regular, ordinary Black girl, that symbol of separation, even if it was just pure delusion, that shit meant something, because we see how the world treats the Asian dolls versus how they treat the chicas, okay? We know what's good. And this is not to say that these women hate being Black, not at all. You know what, let me read exactly what I have here so I don't fuck it up, because I want to emphasize this. This is not to say that these women hate being Black. It is completely okay to say, hey, my eyes are beautiful and I want you to notice that. My nose is beautiful, my skin complexion is beautiful. Of course, but that's completely different from making these features your entire identity. Society has a weird way of detaching these characteristics from who they are as people and making it seem as though their beauty is in spite of their Blackness, or like these characteristics are their one saving grace, because if they didn't have it, they would just be a Black woman in the ordinary. Now, in Ari and JT's case, this doesn't apply, but I'm including all of this in the same video, the featurism, the exotification, the glamorization, all at one time, just to exemplify that Black women in the ordinary, Black women just existing without any sort of decoration, is socially treated as the contrary to a desirable person. almost like the rival to a desirable person. That is what seems to push the needle from society's baseline hatred of us to their tolerance of us. It really is not what we do to our appearance. It's that the more that this fickle and gullible ass society believes that we're not regular, the more comfortable they feel with loving us out loud and viewing us as desirable, attractive, arousing, etc. I've said once before in a Patreon video, my most recent one actually, patreon.com/Teanna. You already know the vibes. I said that attraction can't necessarily be forced, but it can absolutely be manipulated. And one of the main driving forces of that is the influence of other people's perception and treatment of a person or a group of people. This is why we say representation matters, because who you see getting praised on the internet, who you see on the TV screen, on the movie screen, and how other characters are reacting to that person has such a great impact on how we view and treat people like them in the real world. You want to know why Issa Rae is our queen of queens? Because everything that has her name on it, she's putting regular ass black people, regular ordinary ass black women at the forefront and saying, take your things. And there's no hurdles for her to realize her beauty. She already knows it. There's no trials and tribulations for her to find and maintain a love interest, a sexy ass, desirable ass love interest at that. It's already given. It's already expected. In Issa's world, Black women are beautiful in the ordinary, in the regular, in the plain as hell, and that's just that. Wake up, wake up, wake up out of your sleep. Now, the last thing I'd like to address are the people who have something negative to say about women like Ari Lennox or even women like Chloe Bailey, who have gone from a more modest, and I guess you could say organic image, to one that plays up their sex appeal more. You know, I understand both sides, and that's what sucks. Like, I really wish I could be on my no frauds and just pick a side, but I can't, because I glamorize myself in every single video. You'll see me, but this is not how I walk around on a day-to-day basis. Like, this is not how I present myself to the world every damn day. Shimmy. And that's a calculated decision. But I also understand that all of this, it doesn't necessarily change the hatred towards Black women in the ordinary, nor does it promote respect for us. And I say us because, again, this is fake. So it doesn't change much. It just creates a little safety pocket. So when Black women are elevated because of how they've worked the system of desirability, the elevator isn't necessarily being sent back down for the others. So whether intentional or not, with playing into desirability politics, it's really just the process of evading hate rather than working to condemn it. So yeah, you know, I get that. And I get the irony in that, me talking about it and then sitting up here looking like this. I get it. But you know me, I cannot blame a Black woman doing her best, not trying to hurt the rest, for anything. So I think it's a bit selfish for us to blame these women or turn our noses up at these women, because sometimes careers depend on it. Like, whereas with us, society, we gain not a damn thing from being so selective in our validation. We gain not a damn thing from upholding these biases. We are the majority at the end of the day, and although holding ourselves accountable isn't necessarily gonna fix the problem, accountability is always a good starting point, wouldn't you say? So yeah, what we respond to and how we respond plays a much bigger role than a BBL and toning up your body and wigs and glamorization and exotification ever could, okay? So maybe we should look within. Maybe. Thank you all so much for watching this video, especially if you made it all the way to the end. I do want to say, while I did do research and prep for this video, it isn't as cited sources, fact-checky as it usually is because, well, for one, I'm doing a whole lot of that in part 2 of this video, so I didn't want it to be an overkill. And for 2, today's topic is my reality. Okay, I came to a lot of personal realizations and I articulated a lot of observations for the very first time in doing this video. And while the facts and the stats and the articles and the book references are cool and stuff and it makes me sound kind of smart, it's also important for us to hone in on the opinions and the personal real world experience aspect of it, because that's just as important to the conversation, and that's what humanizes the conversation. This topic, at least for me, was extremely complicated. If you saw my community post a couple weeks ago, this video is well overdue. Like, I already wrote it and recorded it, edited it, and posted it, but only to Patreon because I felt like something was missing, and a lot of things were, so I'm happy I, got my shit together. But yeah, it's tough. Even though it's a tough conversation in general, I feel like it's especially difficult for me as a commentary creator, because I feel a lot of people expect, a lot of the times I feel like it's my job to articulate my thoughts in a way that takes them from point A to point B, when in reality, the topic is more like a... But as my channel is taking a turn where I'm just popping in every once in a while to really give it all I got and really, challenge myself rather than just popping up once a week to barely crack the surface, I want to make sure that my content and what people expect of my content isn't snowballing into something where, like, this is a conclusions factory and people constantly want point A's to point B's and answers out of me, because I don't fucking got them, okay? Point A's to point B's, ain't got it. This video, for example, was more like a point C to point Q, and that's where I'm most comfortable. So yeah, I would like people to think of my channel as more of a community think tank and understand that I'm just trying to chop it up rather than viewing this channel as an end-all be-all resource. Be sure to leave your thoughts and your comments down below. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, however you're feeling today, and subscribe for more content. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.